Hello, everyone. You're listening to the LockingYourSuccess.com Trading Performance Podcast with Master Trading Performance Coach John Locke, where it's all about real traders, real problems, and real coaching. This is episode number 12, and today I'd like to talk to you about a question that was asked about our impossible trading goal that we set for 2020. Now, that impossible goal was to turn $10,000 into $100,000 in 5 years or less using an initial trade size of only $250, which I admitted was likely impossible. So the question I got is, why would anyone set a goal that they thought was impossible to reach? Excellent question. But before we go too far digging into the answer to that, let's talk about goal setting in general. I was always taught that when we set goals, we should set what's known as SMART goals. SMART being an acronym for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. Now, for the most part, I believe that this is pretty good advice. We do want our goals to be specific, otherwise our brain can misinterpret them. They should also be measurable so that we know when we've reached them. They should also be relevant, and by that I mean they should be clear on why the goal is important to us. And they should also be time-bound, meaning that we should have a specific date by which we should have achieved the goal. Now, in general, I believe these goals have their place, and I also believe they can be quite effective for a lot of things. That said, here's the problem with traditional goal setting. When we go ahead and we set a worthy goal, an aggressive goal, a goal that stretches us, one of the first things that happens is the brain starts to freak out. And it starts to provide us with thoughts about why we can't do it or why we shouldn't do it. And one of the reasons it does this is because throughout life, we've developed the perception that if we fail to exceed a goal or we fail to achieve a goal, then it's going to be this terrible, disastrous thing, and that if that happens, somehow we're a failure. We literally become afraid about setting the goal, so as a result, we scale our goal down. We scale it down to something more realistic, something a little more comfortable within our reach, until the point where our goal is something we know for certain that we can do. We know for certain we can achieve it, which for most people isn't very inspiring. It's not much more than they have now. And when a goal doesn't inspire us, we often end up not following through with it. Or even if we do gain the energy or build up the energy to actually follow through with the goal, it makes very little difference in our lives. Because the goal itself was well within our capabilities, given our current mindset. Meaning that the goal was so lame in the first place that even if we exceed the goal, we often say, that's not good enough. We often beat ourselves up for not doing better or for drastically exceeding that goal. So that being the case, no wonder so many of us avoid setting goals. I mean, who wants to be uncomfortable and ultimately disappointed by setting a goal that isn't all that inspirational in the first place? So we probably won't follow through with it. And even if we do follow through with it, it's not going to be good enough, right? So we don't feel good. We don't get our reward. And I'm certainly not going to set a goal that is inspirational, because if I do, that goal is going to be risky. Because there's a good chance it's not going to work out, and that's just going to be catastrophic. It's going to be much, much worse than sitting in the same old life. So therefore, we decide to sit around and make these lame goals. As you can see, this is a thought pattern that is what we call a lose-lose situation. However, when we think differently about a goal, when we openly admit that the goal is impossible, our brains lose the need to scale back our goals to a comfortable level. And this is because we already know that the goal is impossible. We already know that we're going to try at it, but we're going to fail. So if that's the case, if we already know we're going to fail, now what? What does your brain have to argue with? What does it have to freak out about? Nothing. Now, that said, your brain might say, well, if you're going to fail at a goal, why in the world would you do it? Why would you set that goal you're going to fail at? Which brings us back to our original topic. The reason we set a very aggressive, impossible goal is because the alternative of not setting that goal and working on impotent goals is also failing. It's what we call failing ahead of time. When we're failing because we're not even considering the wonderful possibilities that we're all capable of. And we defeat ourselves in advance before we even give it a solid effort. Now, some people believe that this type of failure, the failure of not even trying, is better because nothing's been lost. We had nothing to lose. But that's a complete and total lie. By not setting that goal, you're losing out on the learning. You're losing out on the knowing. You're diminishing your ability to overcome challenges. You're eroding away at your self-confidence. You're setting aside your dreams, and you're settling for much, much less than you're capable of. Most of you have no idea of the greatness that you're capable of, nor of what your lost opportunity is costing you. So the belief that if we don't try, we can't fail, that is a horrible, horrible lie. In fact, not trying is the worst failure there is because you learn nothing, you contribute nothing, and you accomplish nothing. You're choosing the discomfort of a mundane life and yearning and wanting for more and wondering what could have been over the discomfort required to fail your way to greatness. Realize that failing repeatedly is the only way to achieve extraordinary results. In fact, setting goals that most people would think of as impossible and literally failing repeatedly in meeting those goals for years is exactly the process that made me the trader that I am today. Speaking of impossible, when I first started trading, no one told me the belief of many veteran traders, the belief that it was impossible to make more than 20% per year in the markets with any consistency. Luckily, I still thought that I could make hundreds or even thousands of percent a year. I was naive, but I was determined to do it. So that's what I did. I set the goal, even though my mentor said it was impossible, even though I had no idea on how to achieve it. I just started making stuff up. I made stuff up and I tried it. And I failed over and over and over again until eventually something stuck. And that something was a trading strategy that I created called an M9 trading strategy. And it was extremely successful at a time when something had changed in the marketplace and most of the other types of strategies were losing money. A time such as we're having right now in the markets. Anyway, I was asked to present this strategy in Chicago at a traders meeting. And you know what the more experienced traders said? They said, this guy's crazy. It's never going to work. It's impossible. People including our own Dave Thomas, one of our mentors here at Locking Your Success, people including one of our successful traders of the month, Chris, and a good chunk of other people in the room who were very much more experienced than I was. However, none of this stopped me from pushing through failure. I pushed through failure over and over again, and I ended up doing extremely well with trading. Much, much better than the experts who told me it was impossible. Now, I want to make this clear. The success I had in trading, or I currently enjoy in trading, is not the result of a trade or a trading strategy, but rather the result of pursuing an impossible goal, a determination to succeed and the willingness to fail, learn from that failure, and continue on and try again until I got the result that I wanted to get. And this is what the impossible goal is all about. Realize that anyone can learn about all the fancy terms of trading, and they can learn all the fancy trades, and they can trade a trade with blind faith while hoping that the back-tested results continue forever into the future and hoping that nothing ever changes substantially in the marketplace in a way that kills their trade's performance. And if you trade that way, one of two things are going to happen. You're either going to suffer with fear and confidence problems, or you're going to have blind faith and be oblivious to the fact that whatever you're doing eventually is going to run into problems, neither of which is good for the long term as a trader. Now, the reason I don't suffer with these problems today, the reason I don't care if a trading strategy stops being profitable is because I learned to trade differently than most people. I did not find a trade or make up a trade that had wonderful back testing results and then go on to hope that things were never going to change in the future. When I started, there were no strategies I could buy that produced the results I needed. I couldn't afford backtesting software. And even if I could afford backtesting software, there wasn't enough data available for the types of strategies I trade. So I couldn't have made any sort of determination about the long-term viability of a trading strategy or if it even worked in the past. So If it was to be done, if I was going to reach my goals in trading, I had to go in and figure out how to do it on my own. I had to fail my way to success. I had to try stuff, intensely pay attention to what happened and to my feedback, learn from that feedback, and then push through the failures and the demons of the mind until I began to understand how to make money through paying attention and adapting to the system. This being the case, not only did I achieve what was once thought impossible, but I'm also confident that if the market were to change and all the strategies as we know them stop being profitable, that's no problem. All I need to do is set the impossible goal and fail my way to success once again, because I've already done it. I know how to do it again. And I promise you, that's a wonderful feeling. So I encourage you to visit us at lockingyoursuccess.com and consider joining us in our Go program as we guide you through this marvelous process of reaching for the impossible goal so that you too can break through barriers and make quantum leaps in your trading and in your life. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Trading Performance Podcast. Hey, if you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to check out my Trading Performance membership, where we take all this material to the next level. We study it and we apply it to bring our trading performance to peak levels. Simply go to tradingperformancepodcast.com. That's one word, tradingperformancepodcast.com, to receive information on how you too can become involved and improve your trading. I look forward to seeing you there.